Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
If you liked our Screen Crush video, you're gonna love this one. We have another infamous Comic Movie Marks video breakdown.
But unlike our Screen Crush video where that gentleman was wildly misinformed, by the end of this video you kind of get a good resounding
well, duh.
We're gonna punch quite up here with the Film Theorist. This guy's obviously a very huge YouTube channel, 8.72 million subscribers.
Meh.
Very, very big shit. We'll be there in no time, kids. And I've actually listened to a couple videos by this guy. I believe his Matrix one is probably one of his most popular ones where Smith is the one, not Neo. It's kind of an interesting video. I thought it was well researched. Fun video, and I get what the point of his channel is. But he has a new video called It's Your Fault, Justice League Snyder Cut. So not much in the way of good titling there, but hey, you got 8 million subscribers, you can title the shit whatever you want.
As big as the channel is, I don't know if he edits the videos himself or if he has a professional editing company, but I kind of enjoyed the way he does his editing. And you know what? He actually does give a decent synopsis of what the Snyder Cut is if people aren't familiar with it.
Or could be, really. His actual understanding of the Snyder Cut before the announcement is, I think, a little misunderstanding by a couple of the things he does say, but definitely what the Snyder Cut could be for the future of HBO Max, I think he has that down quite well.
Let's rock this joint!
Certain subset of fans, it didn't make sense. I mean, this was the Justice League. I mean, we're talking Batman, Aquaman, Flashman, Mustache Man, Robot Man, and Girl coming together. This wasn't gonna be a Marvel rainbow-colored flouncy-trouncy adventure. This was gonna be epic, grimdark. We live in a society and it's gonna tell us about it. And it wasn't. To many who watched the movie, it was just forgettable.
That might be just how he presents his videos, with this very condescending nature. He's obviously just bouncing back and forth between hyperbole of each universe and how each fanboy might react. Then he starts talking about the Snyder Cut.
A rumor began spreading about a wildly different cut of the movie, a 4-hour version that had existed when original director Zack Snyder was helming the project. You see, after a terrible family tragedy forced Zack off the project, Warner Brothers brought former Avengers director Joss Whedon on board to retool Zack's vision into something more mainstream. The result was more color, more comedy, and more confusion, because it was a big departure from the gritty, darker tone of the movies that had come before. And so fans started a massive grassroots movement to, quote, release the Snyder Cut, that original 4-hour edit expressing the original director's original vision of the film, which may or may not have actually ever existed.
And this is kind of my point. He keeps bringing up a 4-hour cut, and then he says it doesn't exist. His information comes from post-announcement, not pre-announcement. Originally, Snyder's cut was not 4 hours. As we have behind us, his poster clearly was 2:14, which is 3 hours and 34 minutes. That was one of his cuts. He has many cuts, varying all in different times, but his preferred cut was 3 hours and 34 minutes. Again, that's what I'm talking about when I say his information comes post-announcement, not pre-announcement. Also, may or may not exist.
Guess what, motherfucker?
This is one thing that I truly hated from that Hollywood Reporter article. You know, I guess it's something as fans we're just gonna have to accept because Snyder was part of that article, and I think that was WB's meeting Snyder in the middle on how they were gonna handle this situation, because the unfortunate details are a lot more extreme than what was presented in that article. And of course there was that line about the Snyder Cut being a car with no doors on it, no wheels, and all this other stuff, lots of green screen work, when we know that isn't true. He was deeply into post-production. Unfortunately, the Snyder Cut was in this weird limbo area where it wasn't complete, but it was deeply into post-production. So what do you say? And then apparently it has to be 100% done for it to exist, which I think is a fascinating way to look at things. When it clearly does exist, it's edited, it's cut to a timeline. I mean, you're talking about a movie that had a lot of post-production work done, but just never reached that finish line.
It was like an unstoppable force met an immovable object. I mean, if I'm making my assessment, release the Snyder Cut, just kind of took all that into consideration. Release the Snyder Cut just sounds cleaner than finish the visual effects editing and all post-production on the Snyder Cut, then release it pretty please.
Adding fuel to the fire was the fact that in the intervening years, a few people have come out to say that they've seen this fabled movie and that it was incredible. Fans wouldn't let the issue rest and kept pressure up for years, even getting original Justice League cast members like Jason Momoa on board.
Do you think we'll ever see it? Do you think the public will ever see it at this point? Because it seems like it's actually the groundswell has grown, and a year ago I would have had my doubts.
Release the fucking Snyder SnyderCut, baby!
Amazing. He had to say incredible. I'm not taking anything away from what fans did. Fans did a lot. But fans didn't bring Jason Momoa aboard. Jason Momoa came aboard on his own.
Permission to come aboard.
He didn't come out in numerous interviews because fans. He did because of his own accord. Same with the rest of the cast and crew that you conveniently left out. Because there's more to it than just fans demanding this. This is what the cast and crew wanted as well, because there's more behind the scenes than you're willing to talk about. Because again, your information comes post announcement, not pre. This is no longer just the 334-minute cut. He's adding additional scenes. He has a 5-hour assembly cut, and he's shooting additional photography. That is where the 4 hours comes from, because he's making it bigger and better than it ever could have been in theaters. That is why he's using this platform called HBO Max.
And a whirlwind of questions have come up. Will it be canon to the DCEU? Probably not, unless it's a hit. Will actors that have left the universe like Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill return to the series? Probably not, unless it's a hit. Will we finally get to see Justice League 2: The New Gods? Probably not, unless it's a hit. You'll notice a theme here, the caveat of it being a hit.
Well, duh.
So he asks some very specific questions. Then with each of the questions, he says, no, we won't get the answer unless it's a hit. He asks, will Zack Snyder's Justice League be canon to the DCEU? Will former actors return like Ben Affleck? And will we see Justice League 2? Again, something to keep in mind here is he said we won't know unless Zack Snyder's Justice League is a hit.
It's my theory today that the Snyder Cut has 0 chance of failing. Notice that I didn't say it would be a great movie. Far from it. I think it'll be a confused, gritty mess at worst and slightly better than the original at absolute best.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
My theory today that the Justice League Snyder Cut is too big to fail. There are so many things going for this thing that it's about as close to a guaranteed slam dunk winner as you can get.
You clearly have not seen what happens when Zack Snyder releases a movie.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Talk about the fans. Clearly, there's a large group of impassioned fans who fought for years to make this movie happen. This group would seem like they'd be the harshest critics for a movie like this. Hardcore fans of the franchise scrutinizing every last detail to make sure it's comic correct, and that would be true if it weren't for one teeny tiny little thing standing in their way: basic human psychology.
Can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
This is one of many times where he kind of makes up a scenario to fit the narrative throughout the rest of his video. He's created a fallacy. This is a false argument. Its only point is to build to the rest of his argument.
1959, a researcher named Leon Festinger got test subjects to do an excruciatingly boring activity, turning pegs in a pegboard for an hour. The original test subjects were asked to rate the overall fun of that peg turning. The test subjects paid only $1 rated the experiment as more fun than those who were paid $20. The conclusion that Festinger reached here was that the test subjects only earning $1 had basically convinced themselves that the activity was more fun in order to justify the fact that they did it in the first place.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
So question for the comment section on this one. So he talks about this test, and I'm not doubting this test that he's talking about from 1959, but I feel like if I was given $1 to do that test, I would shit all over that test for them only giving me $1. And if they gave me $20, I would praise the shit out of that test, especially in 1959 where $20 is worth a shit ton of money.
Yeah, I completely agree. When I was first watching this, I'm like, this whole ideology, this example that he's given almost seems backwards. Like, why would I say, oh, I had a blast for $1? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not questioning the fact that Festinger's research was flawed at all, but it just seems very odd. I thought the exact opposite. So that brings me to my next point, and I don't watch film theory all that often, so maybe he tends to bring a lot of psychology into his videos or not. And I also understand that there is a limited mental capacity for humans who essentially developed and matured during their adolescence in a glorified Airstream. However, the fact that he tries to make this video a little more intelligent, and to me, he's comparing the people who turned the pegs and get $1 and loved it to Snyder fans. That's how I interpreted this. Essentially, that even if it's chicken shit, we're gonna turn it into chicken salad anyways.
And you just wanna say, fuck you.
To justify everything he brings up, the next thing has got to justify the reason why he brought those things up. So you remember that false argument that he made at the beginning of this thing, saying that the people that want the Snyder Cut should be the most critical of the Snyder Cut, looking for all those comic inaccurate details? He had to make that argument in order to justify the rest of this video. That one point is what justifies the rest of what he talks about, the test and the cognitive dissonance. So to make one thing work, you gotta make up a scenario to make the rest of this video work. As Shane said, Snyder fans will turn chicken shit into chicken salad.
Exactly. His definition of cognitive dissonance is stating something was fun when you really know that it wasn't, and magically your brain convinces you that something is more fun than it actually is. Again, to me, he's alluding to Snyder fans. We're bots, I guess, that no matter what, we are gonna love this movie just because of cognitive dissonance.
Cheese and crackers.
Is that Justice League Snyder Cut fans are in this boat. For the last 3 years, they've been petitioning nonstop on social media to make this thing happen, believing that the Snyder Cut is gonna be some magical solution to what was otherwise a mediocre movie. That is a lot of time and energy and, most importantly, emotional investment.
Essentially stating that because of the time and energy and emotional investment that we put into this, we're just gonna be dumbfounded and enjoy this movie no matter what. But he's not understanding the reason that the Snyder Cut campaign existed in the first place, because we put so much time, energy, and emotional investment into an entire universe that was ultimately shit on. That is why we fought so hard for Zack Snyder's Justice League. We didn't put all of this into one movie, we put all of our time and energy into the entire universe, and that's what makes this so important. And it also doesn't mean that we're just gonna love it for no reason. We are confident in Zack Snyder and his ability to deliver this movie.
The movie or mini-series or whatever comes out on HBO Max, even if it's bad, their brains won't want to process it. It'll create dissonance. Their behavior for the past 3 years has said, this thing is gonna be good, and the brain will be forced to adjust accordingly to fit that behavior, to correct for the dissonance. The long and short of it is that even if the Snyder Cut is bad or mediocre or whatever, their brains won't want to process the bad.
Well, for anybody that can't figure out through his long-winded explanation of all of this stuff, I can make it pretty simple for a lot of people. What he is describing is what some people call a fanboy.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Congratulations, you made a very long-winded 14-minute video describing fanboys. Congratulations on that one. I could have done that in seconds, like a lot of things.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
So then he gets into another aspect of psychology, belief perseverance, and he states humans are reluctant to change their minds. Kind of like when haters of the Snyderverse state, that's not my Superman, or they hate the deconstruction of heroes, but defend Thor and Hulk in the MCU. More describing of fanboys. Belief perseverance and cognitive dissonance obviously exist.
Say what, girlfriend? What you talking about, Willis? Come on, Raj!
So again, we see how Justice League can't fail in the eyes of the Snyder Cut fandom. 3 years of being convinced it not only exists, but that it's gonna be great can't be wrong, even if it is objectively wrong.
What? Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
The only film that can be objectively bad is Captain Marvel.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
You know the saying, hindsight is 20/20? Basically, it means that if put in a do-over situation, most people would learn from their mistakes and do a slightly better job the second time around. And that's exactly the position that Zack Snyder is currently in. At this point, he's gotten to see all the critical responses to the original Justice League, the good and the bad. And no matter what his original vision for the film was, no matter what he added to that project versus what Joss Whedon added to that project, it doesn't matter. matter. Now he's able to shape it all into something new, something that responds to a lot of those criticisms.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
For the people that are Snyder fans that are listening to this, I hope you're laughing at this part, because he actually believes that Zack Snyder is going to change his movie or series because of what critics said.
This is actually a part of the video that I agreed with Matt Pat. He uses an example that Snyder is in a do-over situation and won't, quote, repeat past mistakes. I agree. Snyder's only mistake was compromising on his vision to begin with, compromising on his Steppenwolf, his Superman, and his 5-story arc.
He's not going to learn anything from the theatrical cut of Justice League other than you shouldn't be CGIing anybody's mustache.
It's meant to wind like a river.
As a result, by the time the first trailer for a movie drops, it's usually too late to change anything, and negative reactions can kill the project before it even hits theaters. But by listening to their audience, Sony engaged their customers.
That's why this movie's coming out, because they listened to fans, and because they axed his arc before it ever got released. Exactly what you're describing with Sonic happened already to Snyder.
I'm not saying we never make mistakes. I know I've fumbled every once in a while, but a quick Google search would show you that Sonic was actually distributed by Paramount and you kept saying Sony. I just found that quite funny.
See where I'm going with this, right? Zack Snyder not only has feedback from a trailer, he has feedback from a whole movie. He has all the market testing he needs to go back and remake his original vision into the best possible piece of cinema that he can based on what everyone was saying about the movie, whether or not it was truly his original vision.
Get the fuck out of here.
Again, nothing about the theatrical cut of Justice League is going to help him in any way. There is no market test, there is nothing like that. This is why Snyder has such a fanboy, because he's not an everyday director. He's not the same Joe Schmo director that's using marketing and all this other stuff. He makes the movies he wants to make. That's what makes him a different auteur. That's what makes him unique, and that's what gives him such a fan base. He does things differently, whether you agree with them or not. He does movies in a very specific way. Guess what? It is going to be his original vision. His vision before Batman vs. Superman, his original script. He's going to change and add a lot of things to this movie. That's why it's almost 4 hours long, or it could be broken up into 6 episodes.
The movement alone is gonna get the Snyder Cut a huge amount of media attention when it finally launches, and it might legitimately draw people into HBO Max, if only for the 2 months that it runs. I mean, maybe I'm just being cynical here, but it doesn't surprise me that a service that offers a 7-day and 30-day free trial period turns what we were told was a 4-hour movie into a potential 6-part miniseries that'll take more than a month to be fully released. Just saying.
That's the fucking point!
Oh, and you're a regular Rhodes Scholar. Where was it you graduated from again? The University of Duh.
No shit is all I have to say on your little conspiracy of HBO Max on their 7 and 30-day trials, but we're gonna get a Justice League that spans over 2 months. It's called business. Why would you give away the milk for free? They are trying to make some money off of this. They are trying to earn some subscribers. Holy shit.
And it's kind of funny, he talks about this with all his cognitive dissonance talk and how he thinks that fanboys will react to the movie in a very obvious nature. Here, as a Snyder fan, I've almost worried that the hype is almost too high for the movie. Can it live up to what casual fans might expect from this movie? Seeing all these fans constantly asking for this movie for over 2+ years. Can it live up to that hype? Can it build up to this type of mythos that has been portrayed about the movie? I mean, we're talking about some major changes to a movie. It's a completely different movie. We're talking about Martian Manhunter, Darkseid, Black Suit Superman, and time travel.
But that shit sounded like a DC comic fan's wet dream, man.
It's airing on HBO Max. There's no way to know the real numbers. The whole thing could be awful. It could be a complete garbage fire of creativity that no one watches and even fewer subscribe to HBO Max for. And none of it would matter because the numbers are hidden. Unlike theatrical releases where you can very clearly measure the success or failure of a project based on box office earnings literally hours after a movie is released, on private streaming sites like HBO Max, Disney Plus, Netflix, there's no way to know the real data.
Times aren't so antiquated anymore that you need box office numbers to determine a movie's success. There is ways to obtain HBO Max's subscription numbers. It's not that difficult. Took me a very quick Google search. So when Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out, we will be able to see pretty much the next day how many people subscribe to HBO Max just because of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yes, it won't be completely determined by how many people are watching it, but if you have a huge spike in subscriptions, that's all that matters when you're running a streaming service.
Even if you're too lazy to do a quick Google search and find the subscribers after Zack Snyder's Justice League is released, all you have to do is ask your own questions, watch your own video all over again. You clearly stated if they decide that Zack Snyder's Justice League is canon to the DCEU, then we know it's a hit. If former actors return, like Batfleck, then we know it's a hit. If we see Justice League 2, then we know it's a hit. You don't even need the subscription count if you don't want it. Once we get those questions answered, then we will know AT&T and Warner Media looked at Zack Snyder's Justice League as a hit.
So within your own 14-minute video, you answered your own question at the end. Again, I'm kind of curious who writes this stuff or if he actually writes it out. You feel like as you're writing this, because it's obviously clearly scripted, unlike us, because we're just straight off the cuff, baby, you would notice this drastic pitfall in your argument. It's not that difficult to even find out these numbers. Even the WWE Network has to show their numbers when they do earnings reports. Actually, in the first quarter of this year for the WWE Network, it actually explicitly states in the report, the WWE Network had an average of 1.46 million paid subscribers and 640,000 free subscribers. So they can even break it down to who has the free trial and who is actually paying for it. It's very easy to do that, and they have to break down these numbers. And as a publicly traded company, they display these numbers in earnings reports. Again, these numbers are widely available to you. You're just not looking for them or don't care because then that kind of ruins your argument.
This is a brand new streaming service and a massive project for that streaming service. I guarantee you HBO will ensure that this experiment will appear successful no matter how it actually turns out. So at the very best, you might get numbers of people who actually watch this thing, but at worst, you're still gonna be getting, this was great on the platform. We saw huge amounts of viewership and subscribership. We're thrilled with the reception and the turnout. The Snyder Cut is our most watched, whatever, and we can't wait to do more with the director. It's a guaranteed success. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's the ship that launches a whole spin-off universe, even if this time no one is really asking for it.
Wrong. That does not make sense.
Why would they dump money into a universe if no one wants it? That's not how business works. What in the hell are you talking about? You don't sink money into a project if you don't expect a return. That's not what AT&T is looking at. The reason why the Snyder Cut is getting released because there is return on investment if they produce the Snyder Cut on HBO Max. So there's no reason they would continue with anything if it's not a hit. That's clear business sense. Supply, demand. Supply, demand.
In conclusion, good sir, although I appreciate your editing in your video and your opinion that Zack Snyder's Justice League is too big to fail, it's flawed at the very root, as we have shown. All fanboys display cognitive dissonance. Zack Snyder will correct his mistakes by making his movie no compromise. And my personal theory, HBO Max will continue the Justice League series because they have already shown smart business tactics. Supply and demand, as Matt just pointed out. They will see the success of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we will have our answer that despite all the naysayers, Zack Snyder's Justice League will be a hit.
And hey, that's just the facts. The Mark facts.
Boo this man!
Thanks again, guys, for listening to our breakdown. Hopefully that was entertaining in some way. I know we are exhausted and I'm sweating and my balls are sticking to my leg.
Yes, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I found it incredibly entertaining just to talk about it. Whew, but it was exhausting. Please like, share, and subscribe to this video. Click that bell for the notifications so you know when we drop lovely videos and breakdowns like this one. Also, we do have a Patreon if you're interested in supporting us to help us get bigger and possibly reach those 8 million subscribers. So click that subscribe button as well. Lastly, we do have a beautiful website. The link to the website will be down in the description below. We have a shirt, a hat, and a mug for right now, but we're looking to expand. Click that link, support us.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.